The Buffalo Sabres continue to struggle. They find new ways to lose Friday, giving up a goal and an assist to the opposing goalie. But what's in store for the second half? Joe DiBiase of Locked On Sabres is here to talk about that and what moves maybe we see at the trade deadline next on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here, and welcome everybody to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Sabres, Joe DiBiase. And Joe, Buffalo finding some new and different ways to lose hockey games on Friday night, dominate the shots on goal, give up a goal and an assist to the opposing goalie, and lose pretty handily. What's going on the ice? Because they can't seem to find consistency.
No, they're inventing not even just ways to lose. They're just inventing ways to finish a game. So they did dominate the Penguins. I mean, shot attempts and shots on goal and possession of the puck, like they were all over them. The Penguins have had a pretty down year, I would say, by their standards as well. They've only won 3 of 10. And the Sabres are all over them, and they find themselves down by 2, and you allowed Alex Nedeljkovic to score a goal from his own end of the ice after having an assist earlier in the game. So if you take the Sabre perspective of it, they're the first team in NHL history to allow a goaltender to have a goal and an assist on them in the same game. Even the previous game, Gil, on Wednesday, they became the first team ever to score a goal in a full 20-minute period in which they did not record a shot. They went 20 minutes against Carolina. They had a 3-goal lead. They almost blew it, which they've done a lot this year. It got to 3-2. They stayed on their heels. They almost allow Carolina back into the game. And Ryan McLeod with a breakaway down at the end on an empty net. He gets slashed from behind, so they give him the goal, but he doesn't get the shot. So, in back-to-back games, first team ever to not have a shot in a period but score. Then first team to ever give up a goal and assist to a goaltender. I cannot wait to see what they have as their next trick up their sleeve for Monday night. That's going to be historic.
Yeah, pretty original. And yet, they're 5-4-1 in their last 10, so it's not like they're playing terrible hockey. What does this team need to do better if they hope to have a better record in the second half?
I mean, I think they have two. I mean, it's more than 2, but if I were to pick their 2 biggest issues as a team right now, Gil, it is that they have a fatal flaw as a roster, and it's one that you really can't overcome, which is they just don't have natural born goal scorers on their team. Like, they will have games where they create, like Pittsburgh, we just mentioned, like they'll have games where they generate a lot of shots and a lot of scoring chances, but how many guys on your team do you have that are proven goal scorers in the NHL? Like Tage Thompson is that. He's done that really now 4 years in a row. Like, this year is not the 47 goal pace that he was on 2 seasons ago, but he's on an 82 game pace of 40 goals. So like Thompson's doing it, but everybody else behind that, like right now, Jason Zucker is your second leading scorer. And that's been a pleasant surprise, like veteran guy at 33 on a 1-year contract. But that says something about your offensive talent. If dude just walks in off the street on a 1-year deal, prove it deal, like, do you still have anything left in the tank? And he's your second leading goal scorer. They have young guys like JJ Peterka and Jack Quinn and Dylan Cozens, who I think were all trusted to be real goal scorers on this hockey team. Cozens had done it for 1 year. The other 2 had showed signs that they could be that, but none have really done it. And that to me is problem number 1. You just don't have the talent. The talent is the problem. And then 2, they cannot hold leads. Like, there's a mental weakness, I think, to this group where it is the way they seem to play. This is the way Lindy Ruff has talked about it a little bit, that as a group, they just seem to crack under the pressure. It's almost like they play expecting to lose a lead when they have it. It's because it's happened so many times. They had a 4-0 lead against Colorado that they blew. They lost that game in regulation. They had a 3-goal lead against Colorado again 2 weeks later that they lost in regulation. They had a 2-goal lead. I'm forgetting the opponents at this point. Maybe it was Toronto. Like, they've had multiple multi-goal leads that they've blown in like a month. So, I mean, they keep doing it. Of course they believe that they're going to blow leads. So those are the biggest two problems. But the problem with this team is those aren't the only two problems.
So, I mean, you're looking at a double-digit deficit right now for the playoffs. With the inconsistency, I would say it doesn't look likely. And based on your description of the two biggest problems this team has, changes are most likely necessary.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard rumors about Dylan Cozens possibly heading elsewhere.
Yep.
What do you expect this team to look to do at the trade deadline?
It's an interesting question, because I think you could almost splice that into what do we expect them to want to do and what do we expect them to actually do? Because with this team, this ownership group, and with this general manager, the proof is in the pudding that, one, they don't really like to make big swings. They want it to grow naturally. They kind of are, I think, gun shy to make big moves and to go on a limb and risk of getting criticized for overpaying for something. And two, I think when they might want to do things like that, they run into a lot of roadblocks in that they have a GM that didn't really have any managerial experience before this job. And I think that limits him in his ability to make big trades or to bring people in. And two, and I think this is 1000% deserved, I would be stunned if there is a no trade list in the National Hockey League, whether it's 2 teams or 10, that does not contain the Buffalo Sabres on them. Why would you want to play here? They have a market that loves the team, but they're so demoralized that the building's not full all the time. The organization isn't really, it's run to me like more of a mom and pop shop at this point. I mean, a lot of these players that are probably in their mid-20s were in elementary school the last time they saw this team in the playoffs. So, and they don't like to pay up big money. So, like, what possible reason could you believe that, okay, JT Miller, you want to go trade for JT Miller for Vancouver? Great. Go make the best offer. And I'm not going to believe JT Miller is going to want to come here. And I'm not going to believe at the outset they're even going to make the best offer. So it just feels like they're so far away from making that big swing that they need. So what will they end up doing? Maybe it's what you just mentioned, the Dylan Cozens. There were rumors about him in Detroit maybe being a match that the Red Wings liked him and there could be a trade there. But Elliot Friedman said that kind of fell apart. He doesn't know where it stands. So like, that's kind of where you end up. They're kind of in no man's land where I don't expect them to want to or even be capable of landing the big fish that they need. And two, okay, you want to trade away Dylan Cozens? You want to trade away, you want to blow it up? You want to trade Tage Thompson away? What are you going to do? You're going to get picks and prospects back? Like, that doesn't fit with where you are as an organization. So it's tough. It's really, really tough solution to find for this hockey team right now.
So what is the solution? I mean, do you get a new general manager? Do you blow it up and like ask for more time, or is there a way forward that helps this retool/rebuild speed up a little bit?
Yeah, it's a great question, because that, I think, is the thing we need to be asking ourselves right now on a day-to-day with the Sabres. It's more of a big picture like that. And for me, I don't see how it doesn't start with a new general manager. Like, I don't know that they will do that, because they love Kevin Adams. He's worked in the organization for more than a decade. He's always been tight with Terry Pegula. So I guess I believe it when I see it that they'll move on from him. But I said the same thing about Don Granato last year, and they did move off Don Granato. Right. So I could be wrong on that. I think that's where it's got to start, though, is the owner needs to want to remove the current general manager and bring in a veteran, experienced guy that's done it. And those don't grow on trees. There's not a million of those out there. Like, I can mention Brian Burke. I know he's doing a lot of good work right now with the Women's Hockey League. But he's someone I just know off the top of my head's available. Someone like that has a built-in resume that's built teams before. Like, I think that's where it has to start. And then you need that person to be very good at bringing in big talent. Like if you want a real specific move, what they need to do is they need to go make the best offer on Elias Pettersson. And honestly, not care if he wants to come here. Like, sorry, you're the Buffalo Sabres. That's the only way you find your way to getting a star player. And he doesn't have any trade protection that kicks in until the summer. So I think, to me, for this GM, the best thing he could do is swallow hard, overpay, beat the market that 20 teams are going to be in on, and go trade for Elias Pettersson and just cross your fingers that some big shakeup like that is going to happen. How confident I am going to do that, that they're going to do that, though? I wouldn't say I'm really that confident.
Understood. Joe, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter or X at Sneaky Joe Sports. I'm on Blue Sky too at Sneaky Joe. And you can check out Locked On Sabres wherever you get this podcast, YouTube, and all the other audio platforms. You can find us there.
All right, Joe. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NHL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win that first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. And hockey fans, you can also use your knowledge of hockey and your favorite team to find exciting betting opportunities on FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League.